The 2025 PBA Tour season is here, and it's a pleasure for us to bring it to you on FS1, the PBA Delaware Classic, where last year we saw a dream get fulfilled. Will we see one get fulfilled today? It's a brand new season of the PBA Tour, and it starts now. As we get to our stepladder, AJ versus Michael Davidson, Graham Fa awaiting the winner of match number 1, then Nick Payton, then Jacob Buttriff. Randy, briefly explain what these two guys, when we say pre-tournament qualifiers, what they're going through just to get to the next step.
Well, you talk about a grind. I mean, these guys have to make it through the PTQ, just the bowl to tournament proper. And I went through that for several years at the beginning of my career out here on the PBA Tour. And it's a tough task because if you don't make it out of the PTQ, your week is done.
29-year-old Michael Davidson. Cleans that up. On the other side, AJ Johnson, 32 years of age, 11th year professionally.
Yeah, nice start for AJ. And last couple of years have been nice for him, but still looking for that first singles title on U.S. soil.
So 13 300s bowled this week in Delaware, the 10th.
AJ starting with urethane and that tank rampage to start here in game 1.
AJ bowling at McKendree. They met a series of times in college.
Lethal Venom for Michael, and that is reactive.
Well, when we talked with Michael before the show, he told us he felt good about meeting AJ in just a singular game because he lost a 3-1 lead to him in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, he said he lost his ball reaction as the match went on, and more games played, more balls going down the lane, the lane's transition. He likes his chances better early when the oil's fresher.
He said today was about redemption. And a strike.
And both of these players look like if they weren't bowling on the Pro Tour, they'd be playing football. I mean, these guys are two studs, gym rats.
Trying to break through today. That's AJ Johnson.
Had a nice year last year, 16th on the point list, 80 top 20s, or excuse me, 8 top 20s, 3 top 10s. But again, that lone win coming all the way from Helsingborg, Sweden. Actually had the pleasure of being at that Lucky Larson Storm Masters last year.
When he gets cooking, at 10, just wouldn't take the phone call. But when he gets cooking, you talk to the other competitors on tour. They say, man, you don't want AJ Johnson to get hot. One more look.
Especially early here in match 1. But AJ has the experience here in match number 1 going up head-to-head against Michael Davidson in terms of television experience. How many 300s this week? 13?
13 of them. But a whole lot more gutters along with that. That one, well, for Davidson, fortunate to just leave one.
And for me, it's just not enough angle through the front part of the lane early on for Michael Davidson as he keeps up high once again. Fortunate to kick the 4 out, just leaving the 9 pin. Back-to-back 9s on the right lane for Davidson. This guy's muscles have muscles.
You sound jealous.
Let me tell you something. Those days are gone for this man.
Yeah. They never arrived here.
I get tired driving past a gym, let alone going in one.
All right, look through our scoreboard here thus far. Davidson and Johnson, familiar foes. They met in the quarters. Davidson was in control, and he just couldn't cap it. If he had won that matchup, He'd be the last man that we'd see on this show.
There you go. Great shot there. Notice a little bit more angle on that left lane and that shot for Michael Davidson.
You can see how AJ got here. 24 seed.
How about that? Beating Chris Vai, sweeping him 4-0.
That was the one shutout.
He won some money on that bet. Anderson takes him to 7. Yeah.
Boom.
And look at the numbers here, folks. Look how much straighter that is. That's because of the urethane bowling ball. Much straighter than his opponent, Davidson.
Because of not having as much traffic here today. Sharp start for AJ, trying to keep it rolling. 3 on the last 4 for Johnson.
Yeah, finally got the 10-pin out on that left lane, John.
AJ setting the tone to 20-25 and trying to get his first win stateside of his career. But Michael Davidson has something to say about that. Don't call him an underdog, this matchup. Just getting underway. In this sport in the first place, all the sacrifices Pop's made for him to get to this point.
Finally, there we go. Just like we talked about in our last segment, he's creating a little bit more angle on that shot, and it works perfectly. And now the deficit just 1.
Davidson's heating up.
Rack shredder.
It's working.
Man, that was perfect. Look at the position at the arrows. And win the best of 7 in that fashion. Not the easiest thing to do. That one jerked early.
What happened?
Looking at the numbers, it looked like he missed left.
80% the PBA Tour on the 3-6-10, and AJ has no problem there.
He's in game 1, and he's working on a 3-bagger. There you go.
Take it 4.
There you go. And again, you see the break point. He's getting it out to that spot. But you never forget.
And he had a 300 on this pattern in the World Series of Bowling.
That one held up nicely. Look how it held pocket. Check your numbers here at the break point. Remember, the last shot on the right lane was a couple of boards right of that.
Johnson really needs one. And gets it.
The question is, if they do get one to that spot, what is it going to do? Is it going to stay on the lane? Is it going in? Is it going to get to the pocket?
Does your gut say anything?
I haven't seen one out there. I didn't see it in practice. Well, right now, AJ's thinking about one thing and one thing only, striking out and putting pressure on Davidson to give him something to think about in the 10th frame. His high score right now, 237. Davidson could go 9 spare strike and beat him by 1 if AJ were to strike out.
Needs it. Needs it. Johnson converts.
Yeah, now that one pushed.
High leverage for Johnson. AJ has done it again.
Beauty.
He's applying the pressure.
Yeah, and this next shot, the fill shot's very important to fill all 10. The answer to the question was because of angle. They felt it was because of the angle. Players that far to the right have all that angle to get the ball to the pocket and strike.
This is huge.
Came up and out of it and paid for it. Davidson just needs a mark and good count.
Mark here. He's moving on.
Ooh, that's good.
Messenger, and there's the 10.
All he has to do is cover it. Got to pay attention. Just cover the 10. He's done it a million times.
And does.
Good job.
Michael Davidson.
Now, he needs how many? There's Dad Doug. He needs 5. Playing the extreme outside part of the lane. Do you take the spare ball, move to the center, and chuck it right at the headpin? I think yes.
Yes. I vote yes with you.
Look.
You're only the Hall of Famer here.
Exactly what he did.
Smart strategy. Michael Davidson gets redemption. And he's moving on.
Yeah, it's the only way to play that. You can't risk the ball going into the gutter.
So we have 4 bowlers left, RP. 2 of them came out of the pre-tournament qualifier.
And 2 of them are southpaws.
Oh, boy. Fa and Davidson. Randy, what do you look at with Graham?
Well, I think he's really come a long way in the last couple of years, and one of the things I wanted to bring up to Jason. You know, Jason, I noticed this a couple of years ago at the League Series, and it looked to me like he had done some renovations with his physical game. The one thing that stood out to me was it looked like he had totally increased his rev rate.
Yeah, I think as you can see with that shot there, 423 RPM. I don't know what he was a few years ago, but I definitely think most of the players, when they can, are looking to work on increasing that power to at least help them get that extra hit per game. I think what was interesting was hearing him calling himself an imposter.
Yeah.
I don't think very many players out here would have agreed with that comment. I think from the get-go, we saw how great he was, but it's great to know that he's finally starting to believe in himself.
Michael Davidson getting past H.A. Johnson, and Ada Messenger! Davidson with a strike. Back-to-back jacks for the 29-year-old. What do you like about Michael Davidson?
Yeah. What do you see there besides the power, the brute strength of this guy, Jason? What do you like?
Yeah, I mean, Michael's always had a great ball roll. I've always loved the way his ball has shaped off the end of the pattern, but on the cheetah oil pattern this week, it was just something I'd never seen from him before. And as you can see in those first 2 shots and the last game, when he gets it right, the ball goes through the pins in a way that just absolutely crushes the pins.
What's he using?
Fa opens well.
But he's clearly figured it out.
I need to have the name of that ball right now.
And Fa with a 3-bagger.
And Graham Fa starting with that urethane ball. Black Pearl. And so far, so good.
We saw 13 300s here this week in Delaware.
Yeah, well, as you can just see from that shot from Michael, this building, this oil pattern, you get a consistent ball motion down lane like that, the pins have been really kind.
A phenomenal week for Davidson. Boom. Michael Davidson, by the way, 246.28 on the qualifying average. And again, set the 12-game PBA scoring record of 3,086.
Yeah, that's impressive. And I just mentioned to Randy, that's why that ball was a little inside of target. Yeah. With that speed and the ball roll that he has, it didn't cut loose on him on the back end of the lane. So he has a little hold. He can hit that 1-2 board as well. It'll bounce off it. And like I said, the way his ball's going through the pins, carry is not an issue for him.
Fa, he isn't blinking.
The zone of the lane a little longer than they might have normally had to have been.
Another for Fa, who said, in all of my matchups this week, I was in the driver's seat. I took that opening game. He goes, I gotta be in the driver's seat. But the thing is, Davidson's gone punch for punch with him thus far.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
All right, here you go. You see the break point there at 0.5. That's a half an inch from going in.
Yeah, listen, I can tell you right now, when the ball got to the arrows, there was a part of him where his heart rate jumped through the roof, and he was hoping for just anything. So I think a 9 off of that. It's the first time we've seen him really fall off his shot and miss it at the bottom. 9 spare. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
He'll take it. I feel like the left lane for him is way, way more controlled. He has a little bit more consistent ball motion at the end of the pattern. Just like that. The frames before on the right lane, he could ring 10, he messenger 10, and so I think he's trying to really get it to the edge to bounce off it.
been perfect thus far. Dealing with a little bit of a bleedy finger that he was dealing with during the break.
We're going to see a lot of strikes from him. Graham, I tell you, he's been looking like this for a long time. I'm still flabbergasted at the idea of him feeling like he was an imposter.
Oh, he blinks.
Tiny bit more shape to the front, but again, he probably was thinking halfway down the lane, leave me something to spare. We'll see how it goes.
He does clean it up after 6 straight strikes. Stronger for him. The left, he has struck every time on the left but once between these two matchups.
This is a big frame for me.
And on that big frame, he comes through.
I mean, Randy and I were talking about it in the break. I mean, we both feel like Michael needs to create a little bit more shape to the pocket.
That last shot.
Yeah, I think he just needs to create it a little bit more angle on the right lane to get it to go through the pins a little better. Or I think the left lane, not that he wants to throw it that far left, but I think the left lane is a little bit more blended for him. Still got to get it further right than 5.9 at the break point. If he were to not advance, that's the shot he's going to think about, wishing he could have back. Better lane, you've got to make sure that that next shot is crisp.
No.
7. And it was almost 7-10.
Oh.
7 again for Fa.
And look what that does to the max score, guys.
Yeah, there's one person in the building that's very happy to see this ball motion for Graham on both lanes, and that's his opponent right now.
Yeah.
When you're watching your opponent use urethane and you start to see that carry, that shape, just change enough where it's no longer going through the pins consistently well, that's when you start to think, right, if I can just string a few strikes here, you know, maybe my opponent's going to tap once or twice down the back stretch.
So 6 straight strikes for Fa, and then 3 straight frames of spares. And now take a look at the max.
Well, no matter what, Davidson cannot be shut out. If he strikes out, he'll force Graham Fa to do the same.
2 shots are going to be very, very good for Michael.
Almost prediction comes true.
Yeah, just better speed control, better hand position. Still got it pretty close to that 1-2 board where he was looking down lane. Needs to get it that far right on the right lane. Left lane, he has that little bit more room, but he just can't try to push it that far left. If he gets it close to the 1, 2, 3, even 4 board, he's going to be in for a chance for a strike. I think this is going to be another good one off his hand.
It's in 4 years. Had to come through the pre-tournament qualifier.
Wow. I think that's shocked him. That shocked me. I think it shocked half the crowd.
6.8. That was further left of the previous one. And
In again. No shape on that lane. The last 3 shots.
Yeah, really surprising, honestly. I felt like as a player, and Randy, you would have felt this, when you get away with one when you miss left, and
you
know
ace the next one.
It feels
you absolutely ace the
so
next
much
one.
more relaxed because you know you've got that little extra room. But again, it's just a little tight. Just couldn't let it go. And you know, now with that open frame 7 count, losing the count, he's given Graham a lot more breathing space to push through to the next round.
we asked him flat out, do you believe your best bowling's still in front of you? He said, it better be. I only have 1 title.
That's pretty good.
Big time.
You know, and that's something that we saw out of him in the PBA League. Those clutch moments, the ones where to seal the deal, move on. He threw a lot of great shots in Portland and was, I think, probably one of the main reasons for the team to have so much success there with him in it.
He'd like to have back Graham Fa. Graham Fa is one of 3 left standing for the Delaware Classic crowd.
Yeah, I think, you know, John, like you said, those 1 or 2 shots from Davison are going to definitely haunt him tonight. And that's the part of the game that I think a lot of the fans forget, even when the scoring pace is really high. It's 10 frames. If you throw 1 or 2 bad shots in a game, that's 10 or 20% of your game that you can't get back. So I think that's another Black Pearl urethane with a little bit more surface, which is allowing him to get in a little more.
Nick Pate versus Graham Fa, and Nick Pate, Randy Peterson, also getting through the pre-tournament qualifier, feels great about where he's at, and now can he deliver? He made it through the PTQ by just a single pin.
All right, so now this is like what I think of when I think of cheetah, especially when you're using reactive. You get in and you wheel it towards the gutter.
And you said it still allows for that push to get to the right.
Fa finding some momentum, but not the way he wants to start on that right side with 4 and 7.
Start and force Graham to make that move earlier because he knows he can't afford the one that checks a bit early or the ring 7 or whatever it is. So I think if Nick puts the pressure on, we're going to see a change from Graham sooner than we would normally see from him. Lane shape. All of the shape that it's trying to create is earlier. So as you put surface on that bowling ball, just as we're seeing now from Graham, it's removing that oil early and it's placing it further down lane, and the ball itself just isn't as dynamic.
And the earlier the ball reads the oil pattern, the less downlane reaction there'll be.
And the further in you have to move. So as you're creeping further and further to the inside part of the lane, well, with less down lane, you're going to create less angle of entry.
Take a look at Nick Pate's arsenal.
It looks like Nick's going with vaporize, which is what he just did to the pocket there.
But he's put together a heck of a week.
John watching now, straight into the gutter.
Wow, way to go, John.
If that happens, I'll head to the parking lot.
All right, you're safe. You're safe, John.
Better than safe.
You're
no.
safe. Cured it.
But much easier to throw it in when you're creating that much angle through the front.
In the hold, like Nick or Michael had seen.
On this right side, Graham Fa struggling.
All right, so through 3, after he shoots this spare, does he change balls, Jason? Does he go to reactive?
It's got to be playing in his head. Even on that second frame left lane shot, the ball didn't look as great as it did in the first 7 shots of the first game. So I'm sure there's a thought or two in his head about, I need to create more shape. Maybe it's another urethane with either more surface on it. Maybe it's a reactive ball. I didn't get to see a lot of his lane play moves through the week, so I don't know. I think it's now or never.
Where you're judging, when do I push the button?
It's a question we ask ourselves after every loss.
That time he strikes.
And that's why it's so difficult to win out here in this format. You know, in a one-game match, there's no time.
Tell me what it's like when you are in a TV match, from your perspective, how quickly it is.
Yeah, you have to try to slow it down. You have to try to slow time down a little bit because it goes by very fast. And when the moment is coming quickly at you, sometimes those decisions aren't made fast enough because the moment is quick.
Nick Pate, a pair of top 20 finishes last year, and he strikes here. He is hot. A 4-bagger. Head coach at Maryville University and married to Matt Russo.
Look out. Whoa. Now that got way wide really late.
Yeah, but that's what the cheetah oil pattern gives you. It gives you that extra shot from a little further right. When you think it's going in, it has the opportunity. Now, if he tries to get it there earlier, that high volume, it'll go straight into the gutter.
Wow.
But down lane like that, no problem. Again, I think at some point he'll be happy with 9 spare, but that's a shot right there where it could have struck, could have gone in the gutter. Take the 9 spare and move on.
All right, so now the string's over for Nate.
70 without a change. So unless there is a change that we aren't aware of, He's going to have to bowl just like that, and the ball has to go through the pins like that every single frame.
Is it just a matter of trust, too, where
I just got to make this work.
lesser of two evils type of thing, where, hey, let's still going to go with it, and he staying with it, staying disciplined, staying with urethane, has Grandfa very much in this, but Nick Pate, he has his eyes on a first PBA Tour title of his career and becoming exempt for 2025. Pate and Fa in a duel in Delaware. Will come down to.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to whether or not Graham's urethane ball can keep up with Nick's pocket percentage carry. I think as long as Nick bowls shots like that, Graham's going to have to get a lot of help down the last few frames. He can see it just absolutely change direction too early, so he's got to get that speed control for the whole game.
Hello, Pate. And gets the crowd fired up. He is loving life right now, as he should.
Urethane ball.
Fa with a strike. And a critical one for Graham.
I mean, that's about as great as you can do it under the pressure that he's under, knowing that he doesn't have the greatest carry percentage right now, to change his hand position, to get it rolling through the pins a little better. Those last three frames, I'm telling you right now, they are absolutely perfect. For me, it's all about the one that isn't quite as perfect. Does it still strike?
Right.
Pate has struck on all but one frame. Fa struck on all but two. It's been tremendous bowling. And Fa converts. His wife Jen looking on at her husband, who says his best is ahead of him. Meanwhile, in a sense, Randy Peterson, Nick Pate called this.
Yeah, he did, and he basically talked to me in Portland, Maine during the league series and said, Randy, watch out. Next year is going to be my year. And here we are. First tournament in 2025. Nick Pate.
Great shape. So he sped up his rotations. And that one, well.
Any miss here, Graham can strike out and win.
Pate comes through.
And Jason, when you're bowling on a pattern this short and you're covering this many boards as Nick is doing, and you're still able to bounce the 10 out like that, that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah. I mean, that was a great shot. He didn't overhit it, really trusted it, rolled the ball to his break point. And, yeah, all week, that's the hit the guys at the very top were getting, that slap of the 10-pin.
For his first TV appearance in half a decade. Fa with a strike. Take a look at that. From the ideal to where it was. Here we go.
In the clutch, Randy. You saw it in the league.
There's one for Grandfa. Oh, the pressure. But he told us I'm a lot more composed. He said, I've been working towards this moment.
This was the right move. He maybe changed that release just enough to get that ball to shape better down lane, and here we are.
It's for real.
Come down to the 10th frame. That's all you can do is put pressure on your opponent and make Nick Pate show up in the 10.
Is good. Strike is great, but definitely needs 9.
Grandfa. That is great. Fa. Cold-blooded. Grandfa is moving on.
Never got it to the right, did he, Randy?
Nope. Yeah, the numbers came down quick, but that was definitely inside at the break point. Never pushed far enough to the right. It was high all the way.
Listen, and that's when you've got to put your hand up and say, that shot was caused because of Graham's finish.
Yep.
The lane hadn't changed, I didn't think. Nothing had changed on Nick's side of the lane, but that pressure he put on Nick it was his undoing.
Absolutely.
How's an all-lefty final sound?
Who do you like? A one-game match, especially when your opponent is locked in, he knows what the lanes are giving him, and he's got his nerves and his feet underneath him.
On the left to start. 5. With a strike.
Oh!
Unique in his approach. That extreme flexibility, being double-jointed with that hypermobility. What makes Jacob so special, so unique?
Yeah, well, like you just said, that double-jointedness in his wrist
is his ball of choice. Groomer he has 5 of them down there. And that's what you look, Jason, when I do telecast involving urethane bowling balls, any type of a flat corner pin, for me, is not a very good sign.
No, but look, we did see Graham have a little shaky, carry at the beginning of the second game, was able to make an adjustment and get the ball to go through the pins. So not knowing if that was Jacob, maybe he just didn't hit it the right way, maybe it's the lane. But again, you're right. You have to do the same thing if needed.
Good ball indeed.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now, you and I and everyone at home is looking at that ball motion going, carry doesn't really look to be an issue for Graham right now. So that change has been absolutely perfect.
But has not won a title since 2016. That was just his second ever. That was filthy. That's a bar fight in Delaware.
My goodness.
Oh, give me another glass of liquor.
If I was his opponent, I'd need a dude wipe after that. Watch this. Oh, my God, that's vicious.
That's a bloody finger. Buttroff.
I mean, there's nothing you can do. That's a great shot through the pins. I mean, and it did everything it was supposed to do, except hit that 10 pin just a little harder.
1972 Seattle Open champ, and Gary's survived by his wife Tony, his loving family. Jacob reflecting on him earlier this week. Our thoughts are with the Mage family.
Yeah, Gary, just an amazing man, and he was best friends with Earl Anthony, and nobody ran more regionals than Gary Mage.
There was a ball change for Jacob. That ball had considerable more surface.
Wow.
Graham to lose his.
And Graham Fa has been nothing but great this afternoon. Unflappable.
Getting back to Jacob, 1 flat 7.
Bring this up. There's a desperation level for Fa this year. Because of his one win coming in 2016, the 7 here, you get a 10-year exemption from that win back in 2016, the Players' Championship. 10-year exemption. Well, he said, I look at the clock, I look at the calendar, next year's 2026. I need a win at some point in the next year to avoid going back to PTQs.
Well, I think the other part of his message was he's one injury away from that possibly happening.
Right.
Big split. His last shot up. And that's high. Actually, Brooklyn. And look at these numbers. That's a big miss, Jason Belmonte.
Yeah, look, I can sympathize with Jacob here when you don't have that early string, when the ball isn't doing its thing, and then you have an early open. There is a part of you where your instinct is, I got to strike out. And in this particular case, he just overhit it, missed it a little left, knowing he has to get it to go through the pins. Absolutely perfect. Face down, let it come to me. That's a great shot, Randy.
Yeah, and Jason, how much of what Jacob is going through right now has been created by the 2 games that Graham Fa has bowled?
Yeah, well, you said it before the match. You said that Graham probably has the advantage because he's out onto it and getting a few practice shots.
Graham Fa again. Fabulous. Look at that shot.
Yeah,
as
that's
good as it
beauty.
gets.
Yep. It's a great sign when you're a professional bowler trying to win and you have the pins working in your favor.
Incredible.
And let's not forget the level of execution that he's putting on display right now.
Look, Graham, when it's these one game, one shot type moments, he did it in the match play this week, averaging, I think it was over 250 something in match play. Those are the cutthroat games, the one game playoffs that he's excelled at in the last few years. He's putting it on again today, 240, possibly 270. Those are going to win you a lot of games, especially when your opponent isn't getting the breaks.
Yeah.
But in this case, if it was a two-game match right now, I think the scores might be reversed. But it's not.
And no question for Buttrick. There's a lot to be encouraged by overall just to get to this point. The way last year went, of course you're unhappy that you couldn't win, but the flip side of it is for him, this is a really strong start to his 2025.
You know, obviously, look, coming second, and I say that the match is over because
It is.
mathematically.
Yeah, good call.
And I know Jacob will get told, made a great start to the season, you're bowling fantastic, you're going to feel really good, but I know the pain. It's these opportunities that you get. It's so difficult to make television. It's so difficult to make the championship match.
Yeah.
And then to come out of the gate where, you know, the 7-pin, the 10-pin, the
Right.
split, you want to do it all over again, and that's the feeling that you know you can't change the past, and it haunts you for a little bit.
And it's over in a heartbeat.
You can lock it up right here. Bob starts 2025 fast. Graham is great again and on top in the PBA for the first time in 9 years. To a decade, Randy Peterson.
Well, I'll tell you, you feel for Jacob. It's great to see him back and performing at a high level again. But for those of you that don't know that man right there, he is a gentleman. This is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and just a great guy. And to see where he was just a couple of years ago and where he is now and winning again after a decade is truly a special moment.
Yeah, and let's not take away the fact it seemed easy because the scoring pace for him was high. But there were moments there in the times that he bowled where it could have been very different if not executed at an incredibly high rate, making those changes with his hand or his speed, whatever he was doing internally to make those changes.
For Buttrick, he still has much to look forward to this year. This is a nice start to it to make it show. He didn't make a telecast last year in the regular season. Gets a nice applause. But what you love about this, Randy, is the way that Foss spoke with humility. He said, look, I've gone through some tough days. I've had to reinvest in everything. That reinvestment, you hope it pays off, and it has today.
Was how he said he was an imposter, and you know, he had no idea what he was doing when he won 10 years ago. And to see where he was and where he is today, it's a special moment. Think about last year, 38th, or excuse me, 2 years ago, 38th on the point list. Last year, 14th in a season where it was fairly tough for the lefties early on.
Fa is a champion again.
Oh, this feels so good right now. I cannot thank you enough.
How sweet this is for Graham.
All my friends and family back home.
Posting greatness in Delaware to start 2025 on the PBA Tour.
Yeah, well done, Graham. Absolutely almost perfect performance there in the last game. A fantastic performance in the game before. He deserves this win.
Jason Belmonte, a pleasure to be with you.
Thanks, Jay.
Lads, appreciate it. Looking forward to bowling next week at the US Open.
Yeah, best